Today is the second day in what is being called the final chapter of the 2016 presidential campaign. Michael Sussmann, former attorney for Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton's campaign, is being charged with one count of lying to the FBI. This is the last indictment brought about by Special Prosecutor John Durham. In U.S. District Court here in Washington yesterday, Sussmann was charged by Assistant Prosecutor Britain Shaw with lying to the FBI and specifically trying to use and manipulate the FBI in order to bring about an October surprise. That's a reference, of course, to the alleged ties between Republican nominee Donald Trump and the Kremlin, ties that have never been proven anywhere. Sussmann, she said, brought these charges to the FBI and never even mentioned his ties to the Clinton campaign. Nonsensical is what Michael Bosworth, Sussmann's attorney, branded the charges against his client. He said that Sussmann's ties to the Democratic Party were well known, that he was a longtime attorney for the Democratic National Committee. He said he had had solid evidence that the press was going to bring out the Trump-Kremlin ties in a very big way, and he wanted the FBI to have a heads up. This was because of his interest in national security. He said that his client broke no laws. So the trial will continue today, and we'll be following it as it goes on. Back to you.
We'll be watching indeed. John Gizzi, thanks so much for that update. All right, our panelists are standing by. We want to welcome them back in. Peter King, Bruce Levell, Melanie Burkholder. Bruce Levell, I'd like to start with you. What do you make of the opening statements so far and what the trial might entail?
Well, listen, I knew way back, and I was with the president, from 2015 when he came down the escalators. And I remember when they were pitching the old Trump collusion delusion hoax, which I knew it was because I knew he didn't have any involvement whatsoever. We all knew this. But the sad part of this, real talk on this, is that, how to take a Justice Department or FBI agency and utilize your relationships with them to spin, as we say, wag the dog in the DC terms, to sell this lie and myth and hoax on the Donald Trump campaign on behalf of the Clinton campaign is a total disgrace and total disservice to our great men and women who do serve in our justice system that want to do and uphold the law to help, the American citizens and bring justice, prevail. So this in itself, I hope that they get to the end of this and that, yes, there are some folks that are held accountable and go to jail for this. And I'm sure there's many more once they start shaking the trees and start deposing everyone around that circle.
Again, he's facing a count of lying to the FBI, pleading not guilty. So we're going to wait and see how this plays out. But Peter King, when you go back in time to 2015, 2016, around that time of the election, it was a while ago. It was several years ago. And I know Trump supporters have been sort of waiting for this day, waiting for Durham's investigation to come through. Is this a long time coming for you?
It is, especially for me. I was on the Intelligence Committee and sat through the hearings of 2017, 2018. There was never anything there at all. And yet the next morning, or sometimes right after the hearing or during the hearing itself, it was leaked out about all this evidence against President Trump, all the evidence of collusion. How often do you hear Adam Schiff talk about all the evidence he had, how it was only a matter of time? And they brought in all the people from the Trump family, from the Trump inner circle, from the White House, from the campaign. At the end of it, there was absolutely nothing at all, not one bit of evidence. So to me, this is a disgrace. It showed how the FBI, the CIA was used, Justice Department, how they were used to come up with a hoax and put a cloud over the Trump presidency. This is, again, unheard of in American history. I hope this trial is carried out and all the others. More has to be done. This can never, ever be allowed to happen again.
When you think about it, Melanie, too, it was liberal media outlets who just kind of ran with this story. They invited on Congressman Adam Schiff, and they welcomed him onto the program when he promised all of this evidence, but never really asked those follow-up questions to see it firsthand. Will there be some sort of reckoning, some understanding the fact that maybe they shouldn't have done that or increased their standards of journalism ethics?
kind of put the cart before the horse there, didn't they? Yeah. So what was it President Trump called Adam Shifty Schiff? I think Sussman is a sussy sus. I live with 2 teenage boys, and they would say, "Oh, this is completely suspicious, Mom," known as sus. 1 count of lying to the FBI. Come on, give me a break. This guy had a whole agenda going on, and we're going to find out exactly what happened. And to the others panelists' points, you know, it is really sad that the Department of Justice has such credibility these days in the United States, because I'm a former federal law enforcement officer myself. We need to rely and depend on these folks, and that their conclusions that they draw with these cases are the right ones. So, I mean, this was a hoax from the beginning. We now know, and the people like us that were saying that at the beginning were saying, "Oh, no, you're a conspiracy theorist." No, actually, we are just realists. So come on and join us in reality, and let's move forward.
We'll wait and see what the jury concludes from the trial. We will be watching it very closely. Let's pivot to some other headlines we're following. This has to do with the future of Twitter and even the future owner, Elon Musk. He made some headlines when speaking about which political party he would vote for in the next election. Take a listen.
I might never have voted for a Republican, just to be clear.
Right.
Now this election, I will.
He's going to do it this year. He said the Democratic Party is overly controlled by the unions and by the trial attorneys. Bruce Levell, your thoughts? Would you welcome Elon Musk to support candidates who you're also interested in?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a lifetime Republican, so I'm a little biased, and I'm a 28-year business owner. But listen, as Musk created his business and he got wealthier and wealthier, or he grew his business, his infrastructure, he started to see and it's like, well, wait a minute. If I vote for this person, this makes more common sense to promote less taxes and payroll taxes and regulations and et cetera. So I think essentially he's starting to, it's an awakening for him as he grows his empire, as you might say. It's like, well, wait a minute, maybe I should vote this way and maybe look at this particular party called the GOP going in the midterms as well as going into possibly 2024. So it's a common sense, you know, answer for him to just say that, because just look at what's going on now. So, yeah. Hey, come on down. You're the next contestant, Elon. We'll take you.
Well, we'll see first if he ends up taking over Twitter, right? There's some questionings as to whether or not that might happen, because he's concerned about how many of the accounts online are actually real and legit. He would like some numbers behind it. Speaking of numbers, we got some insight as to how many of the president's own followers might not be real accounts. In fact, SparkToro, it's a software firm, they found that about half of Joe Biden's 22 million followers were fake. Peter King, what does that tell you about maybe all the users on social media and their real authenticity?
Yes, I can't begin to understand Elon Musk. He is an incredibly successful person. He's turned the world upside down with his offer to buy Twitter, to take over Twitter. Now he's raising questions about the bots, about how many of them are legit. You saw that half of the followers for Biden could be fraudulent. I think what Musk is looking for, he wants an assurance that it's less than 5% overall. Now, whether he's doing that because he is serious about it, or he wants to bring the price down, or he just wants to, again, create more controversy here. But he has performed a great public service in exposing the hypocrisy and the phoniness of Twitter and how biased they are. So, again, I give him credit. What he's going to do exactly and how many of these followers are fake and how many are true, I don't know. But I have faith that he will end up landing on his feet. That I'm sure of.
Well, he'll have to get past the trolls, Melanie. There are a lot of critics out there who aren't so happy with the idea of him taking over.
Yeah, it's almost as if he went from babysitting or mowing lawns to actually getting a paycheck and realizing that, wait, the government's taking way too much of my money. I think I'm going to get on the right side of things here and not being paid in cash like babysitting or mowing lawns. So this is wonderful. But, you know, is he going to be the next cheerleader for the Republican Party? I doubt it. But I love that he is really focused on free speech and the First Amendment. That is a wonderful and classic argument to be made. And, you know, as someone in the public figure, I get trolls and bots and all sorts of stuff attacked because people say anything they want behind a screen. But if they're in your face and they're face to face, they would never be so cruel. So we have this opportunity now, and let's just seize on it.
A reminder, Twitter, of course, is not real life. We know that to be true, but we do appreciate these real conversations we're having. Peter King, Bruce Levell, Melanie Burkholder, thank you, panelists, so much.